It started with a smile that America trusted every morning. Robin Roberts, the woman whose calm voice and warm laugh lit up Good Morning America, seemed to have everything: success, fame, and love from millions of viewers. But you won't believe what really went on when the cameras stopped rolling. Behind that polished smile was a story filled with heartbreak, racism, betrayal, and life or death battles that almost made her walk away from television forever. Let me tell you, Robin's story was not just about reading the news. It was about surviving storms no one could see. She came from a small town in Mississippi where dreams often ended before they began. Her father, a proud Tuskegee Airman, taught her strength, discipline, and pride. From those lessons, Robin carried a fire that pushed her to do something no one expected: to become one of the few Black women in sports journalism. This is how it all began. She played basketball at Southeastern Louisiana University, where she didn't just play, she dominated. Her love for competition soon turned into a passion for storytelling. She worked long hours in small local stations in Mississippi and Tennessee, sometimes unpaid, just for the chance to learn. But destiny had other plans. She didn't know then that her name would one day become one of the most trusted in American television. When ESPN gave her a chance in 1990, Robin entered a world where she was often the only woman and the only Black face in the room. The pressure was heavy. Some doubted her, some ignored her, others waited for her to fail. But Robin refused to give in. She once said, "Make your mess your message." And what makes this story different? She truly lived by those words. She stayed calm through every insult, every bit of unfair treatment, every whisper that she wasn't fit for the job. She turned all of that into fuel. Her confidence, her warmth, and her humor made her stand out. And soon enough, ABC came calling. When she joined Good Morning America in 2005, everything seemed perfect. The ratings went up, viewers loved her honesty, and she became America's morning sweetheart. But here is the shocking part. While everyone saw success, Robin felt the pressure behind the scenes. The world saw her grace, but behind closed doors, she was battling the constant need to prove herself. Some people inside the network still didn't believe she deserved her place at the anchor desk. There were unspoken racial undertones, quiet whispers that questioned whether she was right for the image they wanted. Robin handled it all with her usual poise, but even strong people have limits. And just when it seemed like she had finally achieved everything she'd worked for, destiny took an unexpected turn. One morning in 2007, Robin felt something strange, a small lump on her chest, one she almost ignored. Days later, her life changed forever. On live television, she looked straight into the camera and told the world she had breast cancer. Millions watched in shock. The woman who delivered everyone else's news had now become the news herself. She smiled through the pain, assuring viewers she would fight and win. But this is where it gets interesting. While she gave strength to the world, she was breaking down in private. The treatments drained her, the surgery left her weak, and the fear that her career might be over haunted her. Behind her radiant smile, she wondered if she would ever be the same again. ABC publicly supported her, but the truth behind the curtain wasn't so simple. The television world is harsh. Weakness can cost everything. Robin feared that her illness would make the network see her as a risk. Yet, she came back to work just 11 days after her surgery, smiling, anchoring, pretending everything was fine. Her courage was real, but so was her exhaustion. She told herself she had to be strong, that she couldn't let the world see her break. But inside, she knew this fight was far from over. 5 years passed, and just when Robin thought the worst was behind her, life struck again, this time even harder. In 2012, doctors told her something that felt impossible to hear. The chemotherapy that had once saved her life had caused a new illness, a rare and deadly blood disorder called myelodysplastic syndrome, or MDS. The words barely made sense. How could the cure turn into another disease? It felt cruel, unfair, almost like fate was mocking her. You won't believe how close she came to giving up. But Robin, as always, faced the storm with quiet strength. On live television, she looked calm and collected as she shared her diagnosis with the world. "I'm going to beat this," she said. "I've done it before, and I'll do it again." But let me tell you, the truth behind that calm voice was very different. Inside, she was terrified. The only real chance of survival was a bone marrow transplant. But the odds weren't in her favor. Because of the lack of diversity in the bone marrow registry, finding a match for Black patients was painfully rare. Every test, every waiting call felt like a countdown. She was strong in public, but off camera, she cried in silence, wondering if this was the end of her story. This is how her life turned from glamour to survival, from studio lights to hospital rooms. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and then something miraculous happened. Her sister, Sally Ann Roberts, turned out to be a perfect match. Destiny took an unexpected turn once again. Sally Ann didn't hesitate, saying, "She's my sister. I would do anything for her." The transplant process was brutal. Robin's body had to be completely destroyed before it could be rebuilt. She went through intense chemotherapy, losing weight, losing her strength, losing her sense of self. The recovery meant months in isolation, away from everyone she loved. She couldn't hug her family, couldn't see her friends, couldn't even breathe fresh air without risk. But here's like the shocking part. Even in that isolation, she kept fighting. Some days she could barely sit up, yet she sent messages of hope to fans, telling them to never give up. While her body fought to stay alive, her mind started to crumble under the weight of it all. The once energetic anchor who laughed on air now sat alone in a quiet room, battling depression, pain, and fear that her career, and maybe her life, was slipping away. When she finally returned to Good Morning America, the world celebrated. There were flowers, tears, applause, and standing ovations. Everyone saw her strength, but what makes this story different is what they didn't see. Behind that triumphant comeback, Robin was still in pain. The chemo had damaged her body, her immune system was weak, and her energy was fading fast. Yet, she pushed herself to smile, to talk, to lead the show. Not because she had to, but because she didn't want her illness to define her. Still, something inside her had changed. She wasn't just a journalist anymore. She had become a symbol of survival. And while the world celebrated her return, Robin knew deep down that healing wasn't just physical. It was emotional too. Every day, she wondered if her body would betray her again. Every night, she fought the fear of the unknown. But as strong as she was, Robin had no idea that the hardest battle of all was still waiting. Not against illness this time, but against people who questioned her love, her faith, and her place in the world. After surviving 2 life-threatening illnesses, Robin thought she had already faced the hardest test life could offer. But you won't believe what came next. This time, the pain didn't come from a disease, it came from people. When Robin openly shared her love for her longtime partner, Amber Lane, the world's reaction was not what she expected. She had always been honest with her audience, showing them her fears, her health battles, and her recovery. But here is the shocking part. When she finally decided to speak about her relationship, instead of love and support, she faced judgment, cruelty, and hate. Some viewers who had once praised her courage suddenly turned cold. Online trolls attacked her faith, questioned her choices, and made her private life a topic of ugly debates. Let me tell you, the woman who once united millions every morning now felt more alone than ever. While Robin cared for Amber, who had also been diagnosed with cancer, Strangers online mocked their love and accused Robin of using her partner's illness for attention. It was heartless, painful, and confusing. The same public that had cheered her bravery during her health struggles now tore her apart for being honest about who she loved. Robin stayed silent for a while. She poured all her strength into helping Amber recover. She had fought too many battles to waste energy on hate. But deep inside, it broke her. She began questioning everything: her career, her purpose, and whether being in the spotlight was worth the emotional cost. Friends later revealed that she had even considered leaving Good Morning America completely. The thought of waking up every day to face cameras, pretending everything was fine, when her heart was shattered, it became too heavy to bear. This is where it gets interesting. Despite the pain, Robin didn't give up. Instead of fighting hate with anger, she responded with grace. In one emotional moment on air, Robin said, "Love is love, and when someone you love is in pain, your world narrows down to that one person." It wasn't a speech meant for headlines. It was a message straight from her heart. What makes this story different is that she didn't try to prove herself to anyone. She simply lived her truth quietly, peacefully, and bravely. Still, the damage had been done. The hate comments didn't stop. People judged her faith, her beliefs, even her right to be happy. But Robin had learned something through all her battles. She didn't need the world's approval to live her life. She had already survived the worst pain imaginable. This was just another kind of test. And the craziest part is that even as the world tried to tear her down, love was silently preparing the most beautiful chapter of her life, a chapter no one saw coming. After years of fighting battles, both public and private, Robin had grown used to life's unexpected turns. But you won't believe what destiny had in store for her next. After nearly 2 decades together, Robin and Amber decided it was finally time to take a step that even close friends hadn't seen coming. Quietly, without the noise of media or flashing cameras, they planned to get married. No big announcement, no magazine deal, no red carpet celebration, just love, pure and simple. Let me tell you, after everything they had endured, this decision wasn't just about romance. It was about survival, loyalty, and healing. Robin had faced the darkest moments of her life with Amber by her side. From hospital rooms to nights filled with uncertainty, Amber had stayed through every storm. And now, Robin wanted to give her something beautiful in return: peace. This is how they decided to hold a small, intimate ceremony at their home in Connecticut. No TV crews, no reporters, only family and a few close friends. They exchanged vows surrounded by sunflowers, Amber's favorite flower, a symbol of hope and resilience. Robin wore a soft white suit, Amber a pale blush gown. There were no headlines that day, no scripts, just two souls who had finally made it through the storm. But here is the shocking part. Even her co-workers at Good Morning America didn't know the exact date of the wedding. Producers were stunned when Robin went on air later and announced with a glowing smile, "I'm saying yes to marriage." The reaction was immediate and emotional. Social media flooded with congratulations, fans wept, and her former colleagues sent heartfelt messages. After years of struggle and heartbreak, Robin finally got her happy ending. This is where it gets interesting. The wedding wasn't about proving anything to the world. It was about reclaiming peace. For years, she had been the story, the woman with cancer, the symbol of courage, the target of hate. But now she was just Robin, a woman who had chosen love over fear. The ceremony was filled with laughter, tears, and memories. Guests described it as the most emotional moment they had ever witnessed, not because of glamour, but because of truth. When Robin and Amber said, "I do," it felt like the closing of a long, painful chapter. The woman who once thought she might not live to see another year was now promising forever to the person who stood by her through it all. What makes this story different is that Robin didn't just survive her pain, She turned it into purpose. In the end, Robin returned to Good Morning America with a new kind of strength. She smiled brighter, laughed louder, and no longer felt the need to hide her truth. Her story had inspired millions, not just for her career, but for her heart. The craziest part is how, after all the heartbreak, hate, and sickness, she still believed in love. And maybe that's the real message of her life. No matter how dark it gets, light always finds a way back in. So, as the world watches Robin Roberts each morning, they see more than just an anchor. They see a survivor, a fighter, and a woman who never let the world define her. Because sometimes when destiny takes an unexpected turn, it's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a brand new one.